What's up, Closer Nation? It's your boy Ryan Stewman here, and welcome to another episode of Entrepreneur Interviews. And this time we're doing it big time, right? We're gonna Forex it. We're gonna Forex this motherfucker. Remember Forex? Wasn't that like a condom or something like that? I think it was lambskin condoms. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, back to the story here. We happen to be doing a mastermind today. These gentlemen and I have worked together for some of them years and some of them about a year. And these gentlemen are all very bright. They're very knowledgeable when it comes to business and money. And I know we've done only a few of these because, listen, you may not know the names of the people that I've brought to you through this interview series, and we've done 3 of these so far. But I believe that like you can go anywhere and hear Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk talk. I think there's lots of other smart people out there on the front lines doing stuff that we don't necessarily get to hear from on a regular basis, but that doesn't mean they deserve less of a voice. And so today, we were sitting around our office masterminding. We were talking about growing our businesses and our finances and take care of our families and everything. And I thought, man, I've got 4 geniuses when it comes to money in the room with me. Why wouldn't we extend that genius to you guys? So what we're gonna do today, and this is a very specific episode of Entrepreneur Interviews, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around to each one of these gentlemen. They're gonna introduce themselves quickly, and they're gonna give you one money tip. Now, here's the great thing. When you leave here, you're going to get 4 different money strategies that when compounded can lead to extreme wealth. I know in my life, I don't just have one way of doing money, right? Like I have investments, I have companies that I own, I have a savings account, I have stocks that I invest in, I have a mortgage, I have a portfolio of different investments, because a lot of people think there's only one path to wealth. You ever met somebody like that where they believe the only way to get wealthy is to invest in the stock market? Cardone's a good example. The only way to get wealthy is to invest in real estate, right? Even though he got wealthy selling coaching programs, right? So even the guys that are sometimes saying that don't realize what's really going on behind the scenes. So I don't want the people that watch this stuff to get stuck in one road thinking there's only one way to become wealthy, because it's kind of like a diet. When I needed to lose weight, I needed to lose 25 pounds last year. And when I needed to lose weight, it wasn't like starving myself to death that allowed me to lose weight. It was eating half a hamburger instead of a full hamburger. It was eating 10 fries instead of the whole damn large fries, right? And over a period of time, couple of months, 25 pounds disappeared, and I didn't really have to do much. Well, the same thing's with money. If you apply what Daniel tells you in your life, you'll save and earn a little bit of money. If you apply what Ricky tells you in your life, you'll save and earn a little bit of money. Same with Andrew, same with Jeff here. So it's those little shifts that you do multiple times over that start to add up in a big way. There's a book, it's one of my favorite books, it's called The Snowball Effect, and it's about Warren Buffett's entire life. I mean, this is a 33-hour audio book. I mean, it is big. It is a big book, and it's everything from like the first time Warren Buffett took a breath until about 2015, right? It's his whole life story. He didn't really make serious money until he was about 35 or 40, but he had done a series of things, some of them you're going to learn about from this interview, that led it to when he was 40, he was a billionaire almost overnight. But to the public, it seemed overnight, but it was little things that he did for 40 years that led to that one big. I've experienced it in my life, and I know these gentlemen have as well. So I just want you to get that premise as we're coming in, the reason why we're giving you the money tip. So I'll let you take it away. This is my good friend Daniel Blue. I'll let him tell him a little bit about himself and then give his advice first.
Yeah, so I own a company called Quest Education. We have about 1,200 clients right now, and we've been lucky enough where people have been able to trust us, where we've been able to facilitate about $80 million worth of self-directed funds. A lot of those dollars are in what's called a self-directed 401k. So that's number one tip that I have for you guys is a lot of people are under the assumption that their retirement accounts are locked away. Right? They can only invest in Apple stock or mutual funds, and they can't touch their money until they're 59 and a half. That's wrong.
It's almost like it's somebody else's money.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's in your name. You get a statement, your name's on it, but essentially it's not in your control. A self-directed 401k, not only can you take money out without paying the penalties and taxes to maybe fund a business or pay off some debt, but you can invest it into a property, right? You can have that property sit inside the retirement account and get rental income. You can flip that house. You can do promissory notes. You can lend money to a lot of other people, make fixed returns, and just have a lot more freedom. So a self-directed 401k is not talked about in the financial world. Financial advisors, they're not going to talk about it because it's keeping them away from making money. Right? These financial advisors, they make money off of assets under management. The more money that's in the account, the more money they make off fees. If that money leaves on a property, or if that money leaves into the business of the consumer, they lose money.
Well, and so like basically, you know, most people, they rely on their work 401k. So like, let's say that you work for ExxonMobil and you've worked there for 10 years, you have a 401k, they match your benefits and everything else. Most people, they consider that's not even their money, right? They think of it as that's their broker's money. Most people don't know that they can access that no matter who they don't have to quit their job to roll it over. They don't have to do any of that stuff. They have the option to manage it themselves. And the reason why it's not talked about, and the reason why, you know, you don't hear about self-directed 401ks, because all of the, you know, Charles Schwab's and Edward Joneses would go out of business, because if you control your money, then you're not paying somebody else to control your money, which means that they're not getting paid because they're not controlling your money. So it'd be detrimental to their business to actually share with you the very thing that you need to do. And I don't know about you guys, well I do because I know you very well, but I don't know about you guys watching this, but I know that I can control my money better than anybody. Right? Like if I give Ricky $1 million, and Ricky is a smart, financially licensed person, but if I give Ricky $1 million, chances are he's not going to be as good with my money as I am, for two reasons. One, he didn't have to work to earn it, so he doesn't care about it as much. It's not his, just like if someone wins the lottery or whatever, right? But on the second hand, is like, I know what I did to get it. I know what, for my money, a lot of it comes from real estate. So rolling, which I just did, I just rolled over an IRA with you to where I didn't have to invest in the stock market, which at any minute is about to crash. And instead I can say, hey, I can flip this into promissory notes and real estate and actually make faster money. And then I've got the cash anyway, if I need it.
Then it's in your control. I mean, I always tell people, nobody cares about your money more than you do. Not your financial advisor. I mean, it's not his money, it's your money. But at the end of the day, if you're handcuffed to Fidelity or Morgan Stanley, you're just limited to their options, and you really have no say, even though it's your own money.
Right, and probably just so much as like, don't know where to leverage it and grow it the fastest either, because my financial planner typically pushes things towards insurance of some sort. You know, he said something the other day, it was something to the effect of, he said, we recognize that the biggest return, you know, on your money is you, Andrew. And I don't know if he meant to say that, because as soon as he said it, I was like, well, shit, everything else that you just put on the board right here, like, let's take down half of that, right? It's like, that's kind of like to your point there.
Yeah, and it's not a lot of people know, but these financial advisors, they get kickbacks from the mutual fund companies. You know, so they're essentially trying
on top of management fees.
Oh yeah, right. There's what's called an expense ratio with a mutual fund. So all mutual funds have an expense ratio. Could be 0.5%, could be 0.25%, could be more than 1% a year, and that fee is not on the statement.
Right.
But the biggest thing, because I know Daniel, I've helped him with his business for about the last 8 months. The biggest thing that I think that the average person watching this needs to understand, though, is that they can roll over a 401k from Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, Fidelity, wherever, into an account with you, with the people that you recommend. I know it's not your account, but into the people that you recommend, and they can use that to pay off their debt. So imagine this: if you are $50,000 in credit card debt, which the average American $65,000 in credit card debt, and you have $200,000 in your 401k, most people have to go borrow $65,000, $50,000 in this case from their 401k at 7% interest. And so, like, not only do you pay off this debt, now you've got another debt that you've got as well, and then you pay off your credit cards, chances are you're gonna run them up again, right? We've seen that a ton of times. Whereas you get people the option, like with a self-directed 401k, they can literally pay off all their debt, their credit cards, all that debt, and with money that they already have. And you think about this, if you have $50,000 credit card debt at 20%, right, then that's $10,000 per year that you're paying minimum in credit card fees. That's like giving yourself, not counting the payments that you're making, but that's also like giving yourself a $10,000 raise. So if you're a person that's watching this, you make $100,000 a year, you got a 401k, you're $50,000 in debt, you roll over your 401k, you pay off your debt. Dude, it would almost be like having $180,000 a year income from the difference, because you're not having to make those payments and you save the interest too. And that's like little chips like that you can do in your finances yield big results, right? Because you have $50,000 in debt, that's probably $2,000 or $3,000 a month in credit card payments, plus, like I said, $10,000 or more a year. So, I mean, shit, at that point, we're saving, what, $35,000 a year just in that one instance? And where are you going to get a credit card for 20%? They're usually like 28 to 35, right? And so, but just in that scenario, a person's, the average median income in America is like 30 grand. Just in that small example alone, you've already, made as much money in savings as the average person. So if somebody wants to know more about this, obviously we can't tell them everything in a 10-minute explanation. If someone wants to learn more, get educated, talk to you about, because the cool thing about Daniel too, that I think everybody should know, is he's not the guy that manages the money and all this other stuff. He has an education company that teaches you what's available, and then he's got trusted resources that he can refer you to. So it's not even in his interest for you to really do this stuff. It's in his interest for them to educate you on what you should do and send you to the right people to get taken care of. So how do they find that out?
Yeah, so look us up at www.yourquest.com. And you'll be able to go to our website, fill out a form. I'm blessed to have a team to be able to, like Ryan said, take you by the hand and shed light on these different options and be able to teach people how to get from point A to point B. Because like Ryan said, I don't sell investments, so I don't care what you do with your money. I'm just here to help you accomplish some of those goals, because all business owners either have debt, they need funding, or they want to control their own money.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. So definitely look Daniel up. Go to yourquest.com. That's YOURQUEST.com and fill out the application. It's worth getting on it. If you have a 401k or an IRA, any kind of retirement funds, it's worth having an honest conversation with Daniel. I'm a client of his. He's helped me, and so I recommend it as well. So, my man Ricky Khamis from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Hey, what's going on?
The master of mortgages here.
Yeah, so 20 years in the mortgage industry, which is basically just selling money. And so I've pretty much seen it all.
Money's your life.
I tell people I know more about them than their doctors know, right?
Yeah.
Because I go pretty deep into clients' personal lives. I mean, work, the history, you name it, and I'm talking hundreds a month. So, what I see as a common theme is that you mentioned about the savings rate earlier being literally negative in the United States. And with buying a house, and this is why I got on the money side, it's the easiest way to save money. Because I can tell you one thing for sure, if you go to your landlord and move out, he's not giving you a check. You're probably gonna give him a check.
Yep.
You usually get a bill when you move out of a rental. But when you move out of a property, you get a check. So that comes by way of appreciation and paying down principal. So if you're paying $2,000 a month in rent and you're paying $2,000 a month in a mortgage, about $500 a month of that is automatic savings. Not to mention the tax benefit that you get for owning a home. And the depreciation, if you already own a home, and we're talking rentals now, rental properties depreciate at the fastest rate of any other type of product, okay? And it's the only thing in the tax code that has never been changed. It's never been touched, because if you think about it, let's say they eliminated the depreciation rule in the tax code. This building alone would cripple whoever owns it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the depreciation rate. Right?
Absolutely.
Well, the guy that owns this place, maybe he works out of here, maybe he doesn't, but he's probably leased this out to everybody in here. So everybody in here is an actual renter, not depreciating the actual asset. The guy could actually lose $20,000 a year on net rent, but take a $40,000 depreciation on the building, your net gain is $20,000. So in real estate, it is the quickest way to actually build wealth. Here's the other thing I know to be an absolute fact. You can buy a property zero down all day long. So if you're moving into a rental and you're paying first, last, plus security deposit, you're out $4 or $5 grand, right? You can move into a property, zero out of pocket, no payment for 45 days, and immediately start gaining appreciation and running down the actual principal of the loan. Automatic savings, okay? So that's the tip, buy real estate, and call me for a loan.
Well, it's one thing right now that's going around. Last week, Gary Vaynerchuk got on social media and he's like, I own a house, the stupidest decision I ever made. And probably in New York, you know what I mean? He lives in Manhattan. It's probably not the best investment to buy a home in New York. They're very expensive. It's very congested, and you know what I mean? Right. But your community, the mortgage and real estate community, really lashed back out at the guy. And I know Cardone said the same thing a couple years ago. But what I think most people don't understand is that a house, and I know people always go back to 2008. Well, the market crashed in 2008. But there was still people that made money. There was still people that made a bunch of money in real estate, right? And here's the thing, it's like the sky was falling, so everybody's like, well, my house isn't worth what I thought it was, I'm just gonna walk away from it. That doesn't make any sense. Could you imagine doing that to your vehicle? Right. I knew the second I pulled off the lot in a 2017 brand new F-150 that I paid 52 grand for, that it was worth 30. I knew that I'd take it back to the dealership and go, I'm not gonna pay for it, it's not worth what I paid for it anymore. No, I signed a promissory note with the dealership to make payments on that thing, just like I did my house, despite what the value is. But here's what I know. The people that went in and stayed from 2008 and didn't sell their house and didn't go behind, waited till the market corrected. In 2015, they cleaned up. Yep. You know, I own a house, and I own several houses. I invest in real estate, obviously, but I bought a house in 2016. We lived there for 2 years and 1 day, which is the time frame that you need by the federal government to avoid paying capital gains taxes on the sale proceeds of your house up to $500,000. Is it, what is it?
Yeah,
it's up to $500,000.
And a couple
and so in my home, I bought a house for $460,000. Okay, that was what I paid for the house, and dropped a little bit of money in it, maybe 20 or so grand. But every month, my mortgage payment's $2,500. Okay, and like you said, 500 of that went to the note. 2 years into it, $500 a month going off to the note. And the house appreciated, right? Because we moved in it, we fixed it up a little bit. The neighborhood's a nice area. The market starts coming back. I lived there for first of all, my rent before I had in that house was $8,000 a month, and it was nowhere near the size. Then I moved into this house. Yeah, to zero. They didn't even give me my fucking deposit back. You know what I mean? And I left the place spotless. I left the place spotless. And so, yeah, you get a bill, not a check. And then the next thing is, I live in this house for $2,500 a month for 2 years and 1 day, and I sell the house, and I legitimately walked away tax-free, cash in my pocket, $83,000. There is no other, and listen, it's a bill I had to have anyway. I gotta have a place to live. Here's the mistake I think most people make, Ricky, and I know you've seen thousands of financials, so you know this route of thinking too. Most people think that you have to put 20% down on a house. So guys like Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, which by the way, those guys are buying multi-million-dollar houses. I live in a multi-million-dollar house. I had to put quite a bit of money down on it, okay? And so, but the average person's not buying a multi-million-dollar house. They're buying a $200,000 to $500,000 home, and you can get into those for 3%, 5%, even 0%, like you said. So if you're already spending, let's say for my $500,000 house is $2,500 a month in rent, you're probably spending $2,500 a month in rent wherever you're at anyway. Even like a regular 3-bedroom, 1-story house around here is $2,500, $2,200 a month, right? So you're probably already spending that. On my house, I put 5% down. Right, so that means I put $20,000 down, right, to move into a roughly $24,000 to move into a $460,000 home, $440,000 home. I had it wrong, but I roughly put $24,000 to be able to move into that house, and then I got 60 on top of that back when I left, and I had to pay for something that I already had anyway. A lot of people think that it's a bad investment because you got to put a lot of money down, because when the market was crashed, that was the thing. It's like, can't get a loan, you got to put a lot of money down. Those days are gone, right?
Yeah.
Well, is it that, or is it being permanent stuck somewhere? Because I can mirror the same thing. A lot of the jumps in my life had everything to do with real estate. It was my primary homestead, but those jumps and some of the toys that I bought myself along the way, before they were coming from my businesses, actually came from real estate, and they were my homestead.
Yeah, so here's what I know. Absolute fact. When you're talking about Gary Vaynerchuk, he's looking through his belief window, right? Which is a very sharp window. I mean, the guy's worth how many decades?
Smart dude, no denying that.
He's worth millions of dollars. He's not talking to the 99% of the other people who are making $50,000, $60,000 a year, you know, that are paying $2,000 a month and literally not accumulating anything except for the 401k that someday they're going to need to roll over and actually do something with to make any real money. I have a 401k just because it's matched and all that, but it's not making any money.
Daniel's
The real
like, really?
estate, real estate is making money, right? So these guys, they're talking about, yeah, don't buy real estate, it's a bad investment, go buy this stock, about the normal family of four, they're not gonna do that. They can never do that. But what they can do is buy a property, and let's say, like what you said, about jumping around. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he's like, nah, I'm just gonna sign a lease. Well, why? Well, I don't know if I'm gonna live here for, forever, or whatever. I said, well, how long do you think you'll live here? About a year. So I ran the math, right? And you can get all these stats online, and the appreciation projection is between 6 and 9% for 2019, okay? 6 to 9%, you put 0 down, okay? So if you do nothing down on a $300,000 house and you gain 6%, what is that rate of return? It's infinite. Because you put nothing down.
Right,
And
right.
all you got was return. You have no investment in it. You're paying rent anyway. This money's gone. Bye. Right? You're not getting any of that back.
That's
Like
what I
said,
never understood.
you're getting
People
a
are
bill.
paying rent anyway. You gotta have a place to live.
You have
gotta
to
a
live
place
somewhere.
You might as well
you're
have
paying.
a note
So I
attached
told
to
this
it.
guy, I'm like, listen, if you move, let me walk you through how the depreciation of taxes work on a rental. And let's say you lose $500 a month in rent because you want to get a 780 FICO person in your house. And you're losing $500 a month. On your tax return, you're going to gain $800 a month just because of the write-off. He was like, wow, when can I come see you? Right? Somebody who's going to sign a lease. So it's just being educated that, through the process, that it's not this nightmarish thing of, we all have shit that's happened to us on our credit. You gotta get past it, you gotta work on it. We got guys at 700 credit that'll fix it, you know what I'm saying? We have 0 down. There really is a way. You just have to start now, because you know what? You know when the best time to buy a house was? 30 years ago.
23 years ago.
You know when the second best time is?
Now.
Today.
No.
Period.
Right.
And one thing I'll end on for that is, you live in a house for 5 years, and even if the house hasn't appreciated and you need a few dollars and you don't have a 401k, you can call somebody like Ricky and take a cash out refinance. In Arizona, what they do, 100%, 95%, something like that?
VA's 100, you can go, there's...
Yeah, so let's say that you've got, $30,000 equity in your house. You might be able to access 15, 20,000 of that to do something. Whereas if you're renting, there's no way that you can take
call
up.
the landlord and get it, cash and give it to you.
Borrow from the landlord.
They're not giving you your rent back.
And here's the greatest thing about real estate, and Ricky touched on this, is like, if the market goes down, you can always rent the place out. And even if you had to take a little bit of a loss every month, a few $100s, you're gonna get it back at the end of the year with your taxes anyway. It's almost like shorting the market and longing the market at the same time.
All the same, buying options and puts,
Yep.
rollovers,
Yep.
all in one.
All in one protected asset. So cool, man. I appreciate that. How do they get a hold of you if they want to talk mortgage stuff?
At Ricky Khamis. Easiest way to get a hold of me, just DM me there.
And it's Khamis, RICKYKHAMIS, at Ricky Khamis on Instagram.
Still waiting for you to get a spelling on something wrong.
Yeah, I figure I was spelling them all wrong. Just
Put something beneath it.
And so my man here, Andrew, he asked for me not to call him what I always want to call him, and so I'm going to refrain from it. But he's one of the sharper analytical people that I know. Like, this guy he's somebody who can drive down and who's seen a lot, built very successful businesses. So Andrew, what do you got for us?
I think I'm gonna share a little bit different perspective. So again, I guess I need to reintroduce myself. That's like-
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Drew.
I can't.
D to the R-E.
So yeah, I've been in the contracting world my entire life. Started out in roofing as a young sales rep. Built a multi-million-dollar landscape maintenance company as well as commercial roofing now. So I think the perspective I'm going to bring is just slightly different. Rather than from a standpoint of like amassing that wealth or what to do with it once you have it, would be more around the realm of just managing that money, right? Because I see so many people. In fact, just last week there was a contractor in my office who went out and did really well this last storm season. Had tons of reps, bringing in a lot of money, and they're staring down the barrel of bankruptcy right now. And I think that there's so many people in the trades and contracting who got into business because they were good at what they did. So let's say they're a plumber, they're a landscaper.
Good salesperson.
Right, good salesperson,
Yep.
right. They're a good salesperson, they decide, okay, I'm gonna have this entrepreneurial seizure, now I'm gonna start my own business, right? And so you get into that and you may be good at landscaping, roofing, plumbing, cake decorating, whatever it may be. I don't know why I think you may have said that one of those days. I don't know why I fall into cake decorating, but it's a thing, right?
Andrew's hungry, y'all.
Yeah.
That's right. So the point is, no matter what you fall into, the fact is eventually you're gonna have to manage money. And what I see so often is guys, whether it's a six-figure business, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, they run away from it. They simply don't do it. I have seen way too many guys every single Friday, payroll comes around, whether it's subs, whatever, and they've got a scratch pad out, right? They're saying, how much is in the bank account? How much do we have, or how much do we have to pay out this week? Oh shit, there's not enough to pay the bills. And you know why I know that actually happens? Because I did it, way back in the day, right? I've told the story before, where when I first started my landscaping businesses, our marketing, I believe, was on point. We had good service, we had all these things. But I had multiple times I'd hit Friday and be like, God almighty, right? Because I think that money is something, like one side of it, what you guys are talking about is the fun side, right? And that's the stage I think we're all getting to, and a lot of people who are watching this are getting to. There's also a lot of people that are in the fearful side of it, because money's scary as shit, right? Especially
With
when
big money comes big responsibility.
Right.
And big is defined by the person's intellect, not by society's.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that it's fearful, so people run from it, right? Business owners who get into play, like we all have our own insecurities, so you're already insecure. You were the salesman, you were the plumber, you were whoever it was. Now you got people that are counting on you, right? And so that fear mounts up so much that guys don't manage their money. They're hoping that it's more sales, everybody thinks that. And so, one of the biggest things that I learned from starting my businesses and actually being in situations publicly, and this is some truth right here, where my debit card declined, at Subway in Pampa, Texas. I remember that, right? Because I was scared as shit. So I would implore people, if that's a big word, it's like not a big word, but kind of all at the same time.
Alexa, implore.
Let's see if is that even right? Is that a word? Okay, so my point is, if you're running from it right now, stop. Damn, we're just on a roll again. Stop being scared about it, because here's the thing. You can actually take a very simple template, like very simple, and I'm talking from the service industry, and manage your money. Start looking at least 6 weeks out, right? It's very simple math. Like, you don't have to build it in a crazy Excel sheet. You don't have to do anything like that. Start looking at your receivables. Start looking at your payables. In other words, how much money's coming in this week, next week. I know this is rudimentary, but the following week, and then what are your payables? And just look at it, because so many people I find,
Alexa, rudimentary.
damn it, are terrified to look. And you know what's funny? When you look at money, when you look at that, you find something you didn't want to see. But the thing about that thing that you didn't want to see is you can now fix it, right? And that's what I found, is that way back when I didn't want to look, because I knew that my guys operationally, they weren't doing what needed to be done for us to make money. I knew that there was a problem, right? But I wouldn't look. And so when you list that stuff out and you see what the big scary beast is, it turns out typically it's like, maybe it's a crew leader, maybe it's a one property that you're maintaining or doing work for that's not making. When you look at it, you can nix that thing and you can change it. And so for me, I think one of the smartest things, that one of the best pieces of advice I can give anybody that's struggling with cash flow, or you're building your business right now, is stop looking everywhere else and at everybody else to fix your money problem, right? And that's what's that?
Yeah. Said know your numbers.
That's right, know your numbers. I'm not getting away from it. So
He's like diving right into
that's
it.
right. So once you do that, once you've done that, the next thing to transition to where you guys are talking about, because this is so interesting to me, is build a business that is worth money, right? And I think that's something that you can talk a lot about, because most people get into business, especially contractors from my world. They spend their lives working, and it's not easy, right? Nobody in here does anything that's easy, but it's not easy. Then you get to end of that road, and you struggled in the cash flow situation that I talked about. The owner doesn't get paid certain times for cash flow reasons. Then you get to the end of the 30-year rope with it, and you got nothing to show for it.
Right.
So systematize, look that up, and build a business that is worth something once you make that transition.
Well, I think, a lot of people are scared to look at their bank account's balance. There's like a meme that was floating around about 6 months ago, and it was like, work till your bank account looks like a phone number. And it was a dude that had $9.11 in his account, right? He's like 9/11, you know?
That's right.
And I think most people are scared. There's lots of memes if you look on the internet of people like making jokes about being broke, like being afraid to check their bank account and things like that. And you know, it's like any other fear, right? So me and my son, we go four-wheeling, right? We got four-wheelers, ATVs. Right. We go to this place on the Red River, and there's some hills that are, you know, 30, 40, 50 feet in the air that we're going up and stuff like that. And the first time we go out there, my son, he's 7 years old, he says, Dad, I'm scared of that hill. I'm not going up it. You know, you're gonna have to ride my four-wheeler up there. And me being the lazy person I'm like, I'm not gonna freaking walk back down the damn hill. You know, you're just gonna have to go up there and go. And it was a big struggle with him. He's crying, you know, I'm a bad dad. I feel bad because I made the kid cry. I'm calling you little pussy. You gotta fuck go up the stairs, you know, like, yeah, talk to him just like I talk to anybody else, right? And so, and then finally he's like, all right, damn it. And he just like drives up the hill and he's like, oh, that was fun, right? That huge paralyzing fear for him was actually something that was very easy. Now let me relate that to money. When I opened my, first business, it was a company called Lifestyle Connections. We help people in real estate. I was scared to look at my bank account because I knew that I had money coming in and going out. It was overwhelming, and if I wrote a hot check, I just had to deal with it, right? Thankfully, I've never done that in my life, but if I had, I was scared of that money. First of all, it's a lot of responsibility, right? And I come, and like most people watching this, we come from lack of money, not abundance, right? And so, and our parents say, you know, more money, more problems, all these things that get ingrained in our head, and we get scared to like know our money. But I can tell you what I do every day, and it's changed my life. And I've been doing this since 2005. I check my bank account every day. I check the money that comes in every day. I check the money that goes out every day. Nobody's robbing me around here, right? I'm on top of my money. And if we don't have money, I just don't make the decision. If we do have money, I make the decision. But I gotta know, because if I look in my bank account, and for me, if I look in my bank account and there's $100,000 in there, we're in fucking trouble. Right. You know what I mean? Like to some people, they'd be like, dude, $100,000, we're rich. Like me, we're in trouble. That's like having $10 for some people, you know what I mean? Or $5. Like we're broke. And so I got to know if we're broke so that I can make the power moves. Plus, if I'm looking at it, then I'm saying, okay, well, we got $300,000 in our bank account. You know, this month, in order to hit our goals and still have 300 left over at the end of the month, we need to do 400. And so I'm on top of it. A lot of people are scared of that. Like I talk to salespeople all the time, Andrew. It's like, how much money did you make last year? I don't know, somewhere around XYZ. Right. You know, it's like, dude, I can tell you exactly what I made last year. And I think it's important that we know, because how you manage a budget, how do you know what you qualify for and all that stuff. So, but again, a lot of people are scared because if you look at your bank account and there's nothing in there, you have to admit that you fucked up. Right. You gotta do right? Yeah, you have to admit that you fucked up, right?
But how many times when you have done that and you see that, you're able to take action on it?
Exactly. Better to know today than a week from now when it's too late.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. As long as we can do something about it.
It's like what Ricky was saying earlier. The best time to check your bank account was like yesterday. The next best time is today.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, man. How do they get a hold of you?
So easiest way for me, why'd you point at that camera? I'm supposed to
yeah, whatever.
AndrewAmmons.com. That'll take you right to my ClickSo account that's got all my social feeds on it, so that's probably easiest.
All right. A-N-D-R, I almost got me. AndrewAmmons.com.
.com.
Gotcha. Jeff, Mr. Business Broker Extraordinaire.
So, Jeff Dousharm, I own multiple companies, and I've bought and sold millions of dollars of companies of my own, and many millions of dollars of other people's companies. So, we've talked a little bit about retirement, talked about housing, building a business, and a lot of times you'll hear people say, your house is the biggest investment you'll ever make, your biggest asset. And for some people that's true, but for many entrepreneurs, our biggest asset's actually our business. My business is worth a hell of a lot more than my house, thank God. Right. Yeah, that's how it should be. So, I mean, I've got a nice house, but my business is worth a lot more, which is why I can afford the nice house. And same thing for most entrepreneurs, but the mistake that most people make is they sell their business at the wrong time. They think it's their baby and they're married to it and they want to stay with it for 30, 40 years, whatever it is, and they tell themselves, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my kids, my wife, whatever else. And what they don't realize is if they were doing it for their family and to serve themselves, there's a right and wrong time and a right and wrong way to sell the business. And so most people, when they sell it, they're selling it too late, or they're selling it the wrong way. They're getting their buddy to try to sell it, or they're trying to sell themselves. And there's this life cycle of a business. There's this curve, and it grows, it plateaus, and then it declines. And most people don't know when to sell. They end up selling it too late when they're burnt out, there's a family emergency, a trauma, hospitalization, whatever it may be, and now it's on the decline.
They're selling it being reactive as opposed to being proactive.
Exactly. So just like with the stock market, there's times to sell and buy. Well, the same is true in a business, and most people don't get that, and they allow their emotions to be too involved, and then they sell at the wrong time, and because of that, they get a minimum value, if any value. So right now, here are the statistics. Again, you got to know your numbers. And so right now, 75% of businesses that are listed never sell. So every business is listed, 75% right now on average don't even sell. So sounds like your odds aren't very good. Well, it's because, again, people are selling at the wrong time, using the wrong people, trying to do it themselves, and that's the big challenge. And so as Andrew mentioned, part of this is build your business like you're going to sell it, even if you're not going to. Because the same things that you do to build it and scale it are the same things that make it worth a lot. The same things that make it sustainable. Same things that make it sellable. So I could take one of my businesses and sell to Daniel, and he could still have it as a good and growing asset. And people don't look at those kinds of things. Again, like you mentioned, if you look at it and face it, that's kind of scary. You have to admit you messed up. Your business is not operating like a business. It's more like a job. So a lot of times when they bring us in, one of my companies actually, we help people scale their business and put systems in place so it's like a real business instead of a job. And those same things are what make it then sellable later on in the life cycle. So my biggest tip is if you're growing and building a business, remind yourself why you're doing it. Okay? And if you're doing it for the right reason, to take care of your family, take care of yourself, not someday, not one day, but all along, then you've got to sell at the right time or scale and even buy another one at the right time. But you've got to look at the numbers, you've got to look at the assets and do it the right way. Because if you sell at the wrong time, you could lose not just hundreds of thousands, but maybe even millions of dollars. And let's say you sold at the wrong time early in their life. Let's say somebody sold at the wrong time and lost a couple $100,000 in their 30s or 40s. Well, Daniel could probably comment a lot on what does that mean in the next 20, 30, 40 years you could have done with that money. What would that couple $100,000 have been if you put into real estate and a solo 401k? What would that have grown to? What would your kids have had? What would your grandkids have had? What would your legacy wealth have been if you hadn't made that one wrong mistake? So that's the kind of thing that we solve for people and help educate people on how to scale your business and how to sell it right.
Well, one thing that's interesting about that is, a lot of people, and I get it, I own a few businesses and I'm emotionally attached to them. I built them. They're my baby. Right. They've allowed me to have the life I live, allow you guys to be here in this office. Like business pays for this stuff, and I'm awfully attached to it. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand why anybody would build a business without selling it being in their mind. Like, I'm not building this so that Jackson, Asher, and Colton can come run it one day. If that happens, cool, but I'm building this thing to make money, and if time's right, to sell it. But here's what Jeff's really getting at too. If you build your business the whole time as if you can sell it, if the opportunity, first of all, you'll be building it the right way, and the opportunity most likely will present itself. The reason why 75% of businesses don't sell is because they're past their prime age, like Jeff was talking about, or the person's just got it like it's not set up. Like when someone buys a business, they don't want to come in and learn everything about your business. They want standard operating procedures, systems, and that they know that are predictable, just like Hamburger University with McDonald's. When somebody buys a McDonald's franchise, like they know exactly everything. They have it down to a T. You're buying the numbers. You're not really buying the business, right? You're buying the numbers. But what happens is if you think you're going to keep, it's like, well, this is a family business. I'm going to legacy this down generation after generation. That's cool. But you also need to keep in mind that that's also bullshit, because if someone shows up and your business is booming, if they offer you the right amount of money, let's say your business is doing $10 million a year and you're working 90 hours a week, and someone shows up and says, I give you $50 million to walk now, and your business is set up the right way, you're walking. A, you can probably go build another $10 million a year business anyway, and B, you're out from under it. You got your money. You've collected the change, And
speaking of legacy, C, what does that do for your kids that your business may not? Because I've seen plenty of people sell their business and their kids are set up to do what they actually want to do in life.
Freedom.
And like tenfold, you know what I'm saying? Like that money grows. So yeah, it's cool to have that legacy concept, but really at the end of the day, the money is what buys that
Right.
legacy.
Well, and you never know. Your kids may not want your business. A lot of people, we convince ourselves that our kids will want it.
Right.
Well, it'd be nicer to have an option. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Well, if they don't, then what happens? Now you might be screwed. You know, and we got to look at these things in the right way. And as you said, everything should be for sale. You can buy my watch right now. You can buy the shirt. You can buy every one of my businesses right now. They're all for sale.
Yep.
And if you run it that way,
The price is right.
Yeah,
So
it's the right number. Yeah, it's gonna be my number, but that's how we should run it, because it's good to have the option, not be forced. Because what happens, we all think everything's fine. Any one of us can walk out of here right now and get in a car accident and be put away for a while. Would your business survive?
That's the
sellable?
big question right
Yeah.
there, right?
And that's
Like you
what we
leave,
work on.
you get in a car accident. Can your business survive? Because guess what? If you don't survive and your business can't survive, your family's not going to either.
Right, exactly. And that's what we work on, to make sure that asset is ready to be handed off, sold off, whatever it needs to be.
There are insurance agents lighting up the feed right now for life right now with key man policies and
Right.
life insurance policies right now.
They should be. If they're good salespeople, they should be.
Well, and even look at that. And I have some insurance policy myself and our key people.
Right.
But nothing would pay off like selling one of my businesses. Because if I sold those, they can sell for millions. My wife would be just fine. I've got insurance too, but my business can sell off for more than what my insurance is worth, or just continue to be run and pay my wife, pay my kids.
Yep.
That's set up as the right way to take care of the people I care about.
That's how I'm set up. You know, if I die and I still own my business, I haven't sold it yet, then I have things in place that allow Christine and them to take over, run this thing, even though I'm not here. So my family still gets paid. My pay just gets transferred to my wife. You know. And Jeff, if they want to find you, if they own a business, they want to find you, how do they do that?
I'll make it really easy. Go to contactjeff.com. Got all
See?
my information right there. Contactjeff.com.
Now that's a man that's prepared right there. You know, contactjeff.com. I dig it. So for me, I'll finish giving you my best money tip. And it's going to be a little obvious and silly, but it's worked really well for me. I come from a poor background. You know, I grew up in a lower middle class family, more lower than middle for the most part of my life. And, you know, and I'm almost 40 years old. So I'm at a point where, you know, when I was growing up, my parents would say things like $100,000 is a lot of money. You know, and I just told you guys a few minutes ago, if I wake up and have 100 grand, I'm fucking in trouble. You know what I mean? And so I had to figure out how to raise that setting in my life that 100 grand was a lot of money, because it's not. You know what I mean? Like, newsflash, sorry, it's just not. You know, especially if you're running a business or you have a family of 4 or 5, that 100 grand goes away really quick, you know? And because of that stigma, when I started saving money, because I think it's important that you, and this is what I'm getting at, you have multiple things that you can do with your income. You don't have to have multiple streams of income. You need multiple things that you can do with your income. So for me, let's say that I have $2 million in cash sitting around. Hypothetically, I have $2 million in cash sitting around. If I had $2 million sitting in one bank account, I know me. I would wake up in the morning, because I'm checking my accounts every day. I would wake up in the morning and look and go, I got $2 million. I'm fucking hitting the snooze button, bro. You know, like I'm a lazy piece of shit if I allow myself to be. I'm just being honest. I'm no different. People hit me up all the time like, what's it like to be you? You always have energy. You're always blah, blah. I can be a shitbag like anybody else. You know what I mean?
I am capable.
But yeah, exactly. I got it in me. I've been there before. I got it in me. And so I know that. And so I don't want to trigger that to happen, because if I did look in this one account and it had $2 million or $1 million or even $500,000 in it, I'd be like, dude, shit, I ain't really got to work today. That pays my bills for the next, I don't hardly have any bills. That pays my bills for the next decade, you know? And so like, there's no motivation for me to go to work. Instead, what I do, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and it has changed the way that I do money. I have like 100 bank accounts, and I don't even think that's an exaggeration. And let's say that same 2 million, let's say I have 20 bank accounts. So that same 2 million is spread out over 20 bank accounts at freaking $2,000, $100,000 a bank account. I did the math real quick. That's over 20 bank accounts at 10 bank accounts, $100,000 a bank account. Whatever the fuck it is, right? There's 3 calculators right here, and I didn't reach for any of them, right? But let's say I have $2 million, 10 bank accounts, right? So that's $200,000 per account. Well, for me, my setting is the fact that, like, if I have less than $1 million in that bank account, I got to get to work. So every day when I wake up, I'm checking, 10 different bank accounts, but none of them have that $1 million in them, which means I got to get to work. Right now, collectively, I've got $2 million. It just doesn't look like it. I log into one, there's 150 in this one. I log into the other one, there's 50 in that one. I log into the next one, there's 250 in this one. And so I've got money in all these little stashes right? And bills are coming out of these accounts and coming in and all that stuff. But it keeps me from looking at one single account going, dude, I'm rich. Right? I look at my shit and I'm like, shit, I'm poor. I got to go to work today. There's only 50 grand in this account, you know? But never mind the fact that I have, 10, 15, 20, 30 accounts, right? I don't know how many I have. I have a ton. I have at least 3 accounts with every major bank and several small banks around here. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, Independent. Like, I got them everywhere. And it's not because I want to max out the FDIC thing or whatever. Again, when I log in, I want to be like, shit, we don't have any money. Yeah, to my mindset is $100,000, $200,000, I'm broke. You know what I mean? Like, our bills here are huge, so like that amount of money. So I look in at these accounts every morning. I'm like, shit, dude, I got to get my money up everywhere versus looking at it one. So little hacks like that. Right now, let's say that you might have $10,000 in your savings account and you feel like a big shot because you got $10,000. Congratulations. I remember my first $10,000, right? And you feel like a big shot and you're like, I can take a day off, some personal time off. I can go on a vacation or whatever. Man, take that $10,000 and put $1,000 in 10 different accounts. You still got the same amount of money, but now all of a sudden you're broke because you only got $1,000. Right? The rewiring of the brain happens. So put your eggs in a bunch of different baskets, right? So that you don't have one heavy basket. With me, I've got a couple $100,000 in lending with Federa. You know what I mean? I've got $100,000 in an IRA with you. I've got money in my trust accounts. I've got money in my personal checking. I got money in my business checking. I've got a savings account. I got a stock portfolio. I've got money tucked away in houses that I don't even see. That's the great thing about real estate is I own $6 million worth of real estate right now, and I don't have a bank account to log in and see that money. Matter of fact, when I log in to look at that, there's debt against it. So I'm like big trouble. You know what I mean? Like, we got to sell these things, right? Right? And so putting your money in multiple different baskets, A, it distracts you from thinking you have too much, and B, you can put, let's say you get 10 accounts, make one of them your checking account, 9 of them a CD, or 9 of them, high interest savings or money market account or something like that where you're actually growing money from it. Take $10,000, take $5,000 of it, buy annuity from my buddy Rory Richard. Like, separate that money out to where it's working for you, and then to tie all this together, right? You think about it, you've got money earning a little interest here, money earning a little interest here. Remember I said earlier, you just eat a half a hamburger and a few fries, and before long you've cut out all the calories. Right. Little interest here, little retirement planning here, little home ownership, home equity line of credit here, a little bit of knowing what to deal with in your bank account, right? A little bit of spreading things out, taking care of your business. Like, each one of these 5 things that we've talked about today add up to a huge amount of weight loss, add up to a huge amount of wealth knowledge. And that's how the richest people make it. They have, you think Jeff Bezos looks up and goes, it's $200 billion in my bank account today. No, absolutely not.
Some people do think that.
Right.
Is the thing.
Right. No, he's looking, probably going, dude, we only have $80 billion in the operational account and payroll's 90.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Problem.
Right. That's probably his problems by design to keep him going, because I guarantee you, no matter how cool you are, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, at some point they're like, dude, I got enough money. Right? So they got to find something that keeps them going. That's why Warren Buffett owns like 1,800 companies or something like that. He got a little million here, 10 million here, a little million here. He's doing the same process I am, just on a bigger scale. So thank you guys for watching this. The biggest takeaway I want you guys to have is to actually do this stuff. These guys are smart. They're professionals. Daniel, how long have you been doing this?
About 5 years been in the game.
Ricky? 20 years. 20 years? Damn, you're old as shit, bro. You don't look like you've been doing anything 20 years, man.
I know.
You don't look old enough to have 20 years experience. I love it, man. Drew, how long you been at this?
14 years.
14? Yep. Jeff?
Building and selling business for 25 years now.
So, and you don't look like you could have 25 years experience.
I started
either,
when I was 5.
Right. And so, we're talking about a combined 50 years in here of experience, right? Because I've been at this for 20 years myself. And so we're talking about a combined experience here of 50 years in this room of real quick, easy wealth knowledge. Nobody gave you a math equation. Daniel didn't go, well, listen, it's the Pythagorean theorem with the 401k, break. Nobody did all that, right? Alexa, Pythagorean theorem. And so I saw that on The Simpsons last night, so I thought I'd throw it in today. But nobody gave you anything complicated. I'm like, spread your money around. Andrew's like, make sure you watch your money. Jeff's like, hey, don't screw up your business or it will cost you money. Ricky's like, hey, you can buy a house and it's a great place to put your money. It's one of those other baskets I'm talking about. And Daniel's like, hey, you can control your own money. So nobody gave you some super rocket science, Elon Musk, way of managing your money. We just gave you practical things like eat a half a hamburger and a handful of French fries instead of the whole damn thing. So that's what I want you guys to take away. if you got something from this, share it with your parents, share it with your spouse, share it with your kids, share it with your coworkers, your CEO, people that need to know about money. I mean, we've got the extreme opposite of us, like Dave Ramsey out there going, don't spend any money and save it all and pay off everything every month, right? Like, and we're telling you, you don't have to do that, right? Being debt-free doesn't equal being rich, right? But a little tweak here, little here, and debt is not a bad thing anyway. Debt on a house is a good thing, right?
You know what? Do something.
Because my house
on a bunch of houses is good.
debt on a bunch of, like my house, I have about $1 million debt on my home, right? About $970,000 in debt on my home, right? However, I have the cash to pay that off, but if I know that I can turn that 970 over 30 years into 9 million, 90 million, probably knowing me over 30 years, and only have to pay $3,000 a month on the house. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense. That's good debt. And as I'm paying that debt bit by bit, I'm getting tax incentives. Get my interest deducted, and if I ever need money, my house is worth more than $1 million, so I can take money out of it at a very low interest rate, right? If you take money out on a credit card or a 401k loan, you're talking about 7, 8, 10, 30%, right? If you take a house loan out right now, it's what, 4, 5, 6%, you know?
Dave Ramsey says to leave your money in the stock market. Don't touch your retirement money. I'm like,
You need to target his people with an ad. You do. That'd be like, public. I have a picture of him with a bullseye on his head. Public enemy number one. This dude's been lying to you.
If you don't want to be broke, here's what you need to do.
Because if there's one piece of advice I could give you right now, it's like, I'd say take the majority of your money out of the stock market. It's been on a good run for a good while. And even if it goes up a little bit more over the next couple years, I would rather have missed out of that to still keep my money than it be one day too late, because the president can say one thing and the market tanks. Jeff Bezos can say one thing and the market tanks. Bill Gates could fall off the toilet and break a hip and the freaking market could tank. Right. Whereas with real estate, it takes a little while. Like, we see a real estate recession coming miles away, miles away. The bonds change, the rates change. Like, you get a million warnings. Dude, we could, like, you know, Korea could like shoot a bomb over here and the stock market freaking could tank overnight, and there's nothing you can do about it. But at least if you own real estate, you got a place to stay.
Yeah.
You know what I
Still
mean?
need somewhere to live.
And everybody else still needs a place to stay.
That's it. So if you know somebody needs to hear this, if you know somebody, make sure you share it with them, and make sure you subscribe to my channel, and we'll catch you next time.